Hey everybody, welcome to Thumb on the Pulse. My name's Thumb Spasm, and you are watching Thumb on the Pulse. This is my weekly news segment that I like to do live on Twitch every week and then post it on YouTube once a week. This is where we talk about game news, industry news, streamer news, all sorts of types of news that gets our heart racing, and we report it to you once a week in podcast form and on YouTube. So I hope you get to sit back, relax, and enjoy while we spread the news. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started by talking about console news. The console news we have on the docket today is about the Sony PS5. Currently, the PS5, or I guess rather Sony, is being sued for the drift in its controllers. 4.5 million units have currently been sold, and we've gotten a handful of reports now through Sony's website as well as through independent sources that there's a significant drift problem with the new Sony PS5 controller, which is something that we all thought we would never ever hear of again with the new next-gen consoles. The Xbox Series X and Sony both kind of added in their marketing kits and their press conferences that drift was going to be a thing of the past. This lawsuit is very similar to a lawsuit that we got to witness and kind of all participate in a little bit when Nintendo faced a similar lawsuit back in, actually I think there was 3 different lawsuits that we researched. So started last year and is continuing through this year. One lawsuit did get moved to arbitration for Nintendo, while there's 1 to 2 others that are still in progress and haven't found any sort of resolution yet. Nintendo did independently try to remedy this issue by publicly coming out and saying they would offer free repairs on Joy-Cons, but again, that's a really difficult program to find, let alone participate in and send in your Joy-Cons. Then who knows how long those are actually going to be gone before you actually get them back. Well, Sony is currently trying to fight the lawsuit that they are facing, similar to the one that Nintendo is currently going through in regards to their drifting controllers, based solely on the fact that they just don't feel like there's the numbers support there being a massive or support being a large-scale issue with their controllers, and are kind of banking on the fact that this might just be a normal wear and tear type thing or excessive gaming, maybe just a dust buildup, but definitely not a mechanical issue that's something that Sony can repair and fix, therefore don't feel like they should be vulnerable to a lawsuit in regards to this issue specifically. Again, Nintendo sold over 80 million units to date and have a significant number of those people that have purchased units reporting drift on their Joy-Cons, as opposed to Sony has sold a fraction of those units at only 4.5 million and are, again, only experiencing a handful of reports on those controllers drifting. So this is something that we're going to continue to bring you guys news about in the coming weeks. I'm not sure how I hope this turns out. Honestly, I hope it is just a thing where it's not an every controller thing, it's not an every person thing, that it is just a little spot accounts that maybe Sony can get by with just maybe sending out a few free controllers and fixing the problem that way. E3 is next on topic. E3 2021 is basically at this point announced that it's going to be completely digital. They're really trying hard to maybe have some sort of in-person interaction, maybe smaller group sizes, enjoy an E3 experience. But as it stands now, they are anticipating a 3-day live stream, again, completely online E3 convention taking place June 15th through the 17th. The association did confirm that it's making changes to this year's event, but not whether it's going to be entirely digital. So again, more news that we get to report on later in the week in hopes that we get something a little bit more concrete from them. Next up in the news is something that both my researcher and I found quite humorous and a little bit comical. Who would have thought that the fashion world would be embracing video games? Right now, as it sits, everybody's trying to cash in on gamer stuff right now by marketing their things as for gamers. They found that there are a lot more gamers in the marketplace than anybody ever anticipated, and those gamers do like to buy things that are marketed towards them. You put the gamer tag on just about anything, and it's almost a guarantee that it's going to sell really well. In this vein, a lot of big fashion mogul companies are trying to cash in on this as well. Let me go ahead and read the quote that we got in the news report here. As the fashion industry increasingly collides with gaming industries and more of our lives are spent online, brands are beginning to start designing apparel with digital worlds in mind. For example, the company Gucci has launched a virtual apparel line in the mobile game Tennis Clash, and Louis Vuitton has designed skins exclusively for one of the biggest esport games on the market right now, and that's League of Legends. There's Gen Z who are spending their lives online and viewing gaming as not just a pastime anymore, but more of like a social network, like a new social media platform. And that's where a lot of these companies are looking to make bank, is in this new social media market that is video games. As we see more things like that come out, we'll definitely report on that. We did already once report on Ikea putting out some of their Animal Crossing themed products and different companies like that. I believe Animal Crossing in their own regard is creating an entire fashion line for their game. So that's something to keep an eye on in the future. Speaking of Ikea, they are cashing in on the gaming marketing side of it. Ikea is teaming up with Asus, targeting PC gamers, releasing 30 or more products covering anything from furniture to accessories like mug holders, neck pillows, ring lights, furniture like gaming desks and gaming chairs, drawer units to store your things, all sorts of stuff. So again, as the gaming industry continues to explode like it has over the last 5 years, we're going to see more and more of these types of companies really banking on it. I don't doubt we'll start seeing things like McDonald's, fast food restaurants, Burger Kings, things like that, including demo discs or something along those lines, codes for demos or something like that in their products. It's really, really becoming super mainstream. Something we talked about a little bit last week, and we're going to kind of reiterate this week. We reported last week about multiple lawsuits that Valve was unfortunately involved in due to many different things. Predominantly what we're talking about right now, though, was the brief mention of the Steam controller lawsuit that was at the time we reported ongoing, and then as I was editing later, news broke that the lawsuit had come to a conclusion, and I tried to throw up a little graphic on it in the YouTube video last week, but we felt it was pertinent to report on it again. That way we can tell you guys, anybody who might not have seen the video, how that all ended. However, Valve was being sued by the company who held the patent to back paddles on controllers, and because of their unique design and the back paddle design being very, very similar to that patent, they were under a lawsuit. Well, like I said, as that story broke for us, we got the news that Valve had officially been ordered to pay $4 million in damages after a week-long trial found that they had indeed infringed on that patent. Microsoft Elite controller is currently utilizing that patent for those same type of back buttons, but they actually have a license from Ironburg Inventions to use that design. So at least Microsoft went about it the right way. Steam did sell that controller for almost 4 years, knowing full well that they were in violation of that patent. Honestly, they just kind of got their comeuppance. My question is, how much money did they actually make off of that controller? I'm imagining well over $4 million. Speaking of companies being sued, there's a segue for you. We have talked about CD Projekt Red a lot on this show, almost to the point where people might think that I have a personal vendetta against CD Projekt Red. I do not. This company has just continuously proven to have shady business practices, continually proven to not put out decent information about what's going on with their company, what level they're at with different types of games they're working on, anything in this regard. Earlier this week, CD Projekt Red was hacked. Their entire systems were hijacked, and a ransom note in the form of a notepad document was left on the desktops of some of the employees. Now, this notepad document is available to view. CD Projekt Red did post a picture of this on their Twitter account. The ransom note, TLDR, just said, we've got a bunch of information about your games that you hold near and dear. We're going to release that information and expose you for the terrible company you are within 48 hours if you don't adhere to our demands. CD Projekt Red came back nearly immediately with the post that I mentioned on Twitter saying that we're not going to meet any demands. This is something that's happening, and here's an image of the note that we got from the hijackers. This happened literally about 48 hours ago. Fox told me about this news early on. She told me that we had to give it a couple days. We were going to report on it yesterday, but I kind of had a gut feeling that we probably should give it that 48-hour time frame before we actually bring the news to you guys so we have a little bit more information. Well, 48 hours is up. CD Projekt Red, as I had mentioned earlier, has stated that they would not talk to the hackers. However, now it appears that those hackers are ready to cash out. With a big money auction online, they have data leaks and little bits of information that they did get from the servers and from all of the computers at CD Projekt Red to prove that they do actually have this information. They're trying to sell all of the information with a starting bid of $1 million. However, there's a lot of hackers out there that kind of scoff at that price point, thinking there's no way they're going to get that $1 million. However, the hackers that went through with this, they think that they're going to get a cash payout of about $7 million. They think a lot of people are going to bid on this information and get a pretty big payout. Screenshots show a user named Red Engine claiming to have source code information for Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher 3, Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales, and Gwent, the card game that's based around Witcher. The source code for Gwent is the information that they've let leak. We will report back next week to see if there's any conclusion to this, to see if anybody actually purchased the information, or to see if CD Projekt Red's efforts to take care of this in the legal fashion has any results. Pretty interesting information though, and again, coming from a company who has been super shady over the last year and a half, 2 years. We'll see what comes out, and again, we'll report the news to you guys as soon as we get it, or hopefully next week. Information and news that came out from today, the Epic Games Store Spring Showcase. I had to read that off the graphic right there to make sure I got it right. The Epic Games Store Spring Showcase was today. It happened earlier this afternoon, today being February 11th. This is a showcase that Epic decided to do to promote their spring sale, where they've got tons of stuff available for super cheap. 50% off Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, up to 40% off Star Wars Squadrons, SnowRunner, 20% off Valhalla, Assassin's Creed. Hades is getting 20% off, which is a game that I actually might go pick up from Epic. More big deals on really big titles, so something to check out. Also, Epic did get a chance to announce a bunch of new games. Now, again, I didn't have a chance to watch the Epic showcase because I was working on the news and trying to get this ready to put out to you guys. So next week, we'll give a quick little summary about everything that was announced in the showcase, and we'll get more information to you. However, there will be a link to the showcase down below in the description if you want to check it out for yourself and maybe be in chat next week and kind of tell me what you thought about it. Keeping it going with quick, short news, we've got a list of new games that are going to be coming out soon. Some new games that we talked about in previous newscasts, as well as some ones we want to remind you of that are coming out this month. Doors of Insanity comes out for PC on February 10th. The Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon, that DLC we saw in the Xbox Showcase last year, that's going to be available on Switch on February 10th. Death Crown will be available for PS4, Xbox, and Switch on February 11th, which is today. The last two were yesterday. Little Nightmares 2 also comes out today. You guys can guarantee we'll be looking to try to grab a copy of that and play that sometime soon on stream. Summer Catchers is today, February 11th as well. Rover Wars on February 12th, as well as Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury on Switch comes out tomorrow as well. Feel free to pre-order it if you get a chance to. And in March, we could see Crash Bandicoot 4 coming to PS5 and Xbox and Switch. So if you guys are huge Crash Bandicoot fans and really enjoyed the fourth title, look out for it. Game updates that we kind of wanted to bring to you guys as well. News information that may have been announced a long time ago but may not have kept their promise. Right now, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy. A long time ago, in a galaxy far away, Microsoft, aka Xbox Game Pass, had made promises that 12 Final Fantasy titles would be available on Game Pass. To date, they haven't met that expectation. We don't have very many titles on Xbox Game Pass as it sits right now. Also, as of the 1st of this month, they've removed titles, specifically Final Fantasy 15. So as we had once thought there might be an opportunity for us to play a bevy of Final Fantasy titles at our disposal, bathe in the glory that is Final Fantasy titles available on Microsoft, not only did they not get us 12 titles at the same time, now, as I do say that, I haven't played Final Fantasy 12, so I don't have a lot of personal experience with that. That one, as of today, will be on Xbox Game Pass, so I do very much intend on checking it out. Final Fantasy XII is being released today, February 11th, so that does kind of add to the catalog that is currently on there, but again, they've taken the most recent Final Fantasy title off the list, so who knows what Final Fantasy titles are going to be dropping off the Game Pass list in the future. If you have any intention of playing these titles on Xbox, I would recommend doing it as soon as you can, because we're not sure how much longer these ones are gonna last. Just to let you guys know, the list of Final Fantasy games that are on and available for Xbox Game Pass: the Pocket Edition of Final Fantasy 15, so not the full game, but the Pocket Edition; World of Final Fantasy Maxima, which is something I've never even seen before; Final Fantasy 7, so the OG Final Fantasy 7's on Xbox Game Pass, which is kind of neat; Final Fantasy 9, which I wasn't a huge fan of; Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 are on Xbox Game Pass, which is actually very exciting for me. I personally have a very close place in my heart for Final Fantasy 10. Final Fantasy 12, like we had just mentioned, and that's about it. Side note on Final Fantasy, there will be an upgraded version of Final Fantasy 14 coming to the PS5 consoles. An open beta for that will start in April, so opportunity to play Final Fantasy 14, even though it's supposed to be free on Xbox Game Pass. I don't know what's happening. All right, moving on to a new favorite game of mine that I've really been enjoying and spending a lot of time on. Also been enjoying an opportunity to actually have a game that me and my moderator can play together, Genshin Impact. Now, there's a lot of information in this one, so I'm literally just going to read off the page to make sure that I get everything in there, but there's a lot to cover. We just recently got a new update on Genshin Impact, which is geared primarily towards this new event coming up, the Lantern Rite. This Lantern Rite event does require rank 23. During the event period, travelers can claim a 4-star leeway character of their choice in Stand By Me, which is one of the events. Complete challenges in Theater Mechanicus to obtain peace talismans, which can be spent in the Xiao Market on rewards, including Crowns of Insight and new name cards, specifically a new name card style called Celebration Lantern Light. Market rewards include crowns, books, EXP, Mora, which is the currency in the game, and the new transfiguration materials. This event will be starting on February 10th, so yesterday, and it goes all the way until the end of the month on February 28th. You can also craft paper lanterns for quests in the game, which I'm really excited about. I'm super excited to get immersed into the Chinese New Year lantern ritual type atmosphere. I'm really enjoying a lot of the culturally Chinese references in the game, because I feel like this game tries to appeal to a lot of different cultures with a lot of different types of music and a lot of different types of sceneries. But every time they implement a little bit of the Chinese heritage in there, it's always really spot on and really, really beautiful, and I'm very much enjoying that aspect of it. A new monster was also introduced to us on the February 3rd update that brings a new material for character upgrades. Login events do start again February 11th today. So to get those daily login event rewards, start logging in today. Let's talk about Theater Mechanicus a little bit. That event has been deemed a single or 2 co-op player event. The reason they're not letting 3 or 4 people team up at the same time for this is mainly because of server stress issues. They really are trying to make this roll out smoothly, especially since this game just came out last October. So single player or 2-player co-op if you want to do the Theater Mechanicus event with a friend. The objective of Theater Mechanicus is to use various strategies to withstand monster attacks. Each stage will be divided up into several waves of attacks. During these waves, monsters will emerge from purple portals and follow predetermined paths to head towards blue portals, thus escaping the stage. This is the interesting part that they've added to the game that I'm really excited to experience. Travelers can construct various mechanici at predetermined positions and use them to deal damage to the monsters and prevent any progress they might make. You win if the number of enemies going through the portal is less than the maximum limit. So you are allowed to let a few of those monsters pass you by, but there is going to be a max limit that you can reach. Also, something that we might just kind of throw up in this little box real quick right about now: kitty costumes. If you'd like to buy a Genshin Impact kitty costume, aren't those cute? Moving right along to the high seas, folks. This was another really, really cool, fun story that our main researcher, Eternalfoxfire, brought to us. Sea of Thieves has been a game that we've been known to dabble in from time to time. I actually was supposed to play last week with our friend Nex Incendiary, and I totally spaced it, so I'm pretty bummed with myself about that one. However, for the last 3 years, apparently, that unbeknownst to me, there's been a game show, for lack of a better term, on YouTube regarding Sea of Thieves, or I guess revolving around Sea of Thieves, called Race of Legends. Twitch streamer Dread Pirate Doug has created Race of Legends, which is a player-created community that pits crews of players against each other to traverse the seas of Sea of Thieves. What they do is they race from island to island, completing specific objectives while fighting off their opponents with blunderbusses and cannonballs. Those aside, it's a format that's super reminiscent of the reality TV show Amazing Race, which was one of my favorite reality shows of all time, that tasks teams with making their way across the world as fast as they can. Now, the developer that makes Sea of Thieves, Rare, has given Dread Pirate Doug exclusive access to a private server that makes it a heck of a lot easier for him to get prepared for each one of these game shows or each one of these seasons. There's no way that Rare's actually able to help them with the broadcast. However, the game's third-person perspective really allows the opportunity for human cameras or in-game player-type cameras to race ahead of the ships and race ahead of the teams and really kind of broadcast this as a TV show type show. I really enjoyed the little snippets that I got to peek in on as I was researching this. Definitely a channel that I followed immediately on Twitch and will be watching on their YouTube channel as episodes progress. I'm super interested to see how this idea plays out and how the broadcast team builds it and creates it. I'm a nerd for stuff like that. Y'all know this. More fun news. Animal Crossing, as it always does, takes ripe opportunity of social media jokes or jokes in the news or anything in those regards. Well, they did it again, folks, with the Weeknd's Super Bowl halftime performance. A lot of people have been recreating the performance and enjoying the fun, almost mummy mask-esque outfit that he was wearing. Also, the outfit was pretty easy to recreate amongst all of the Animal Crossing products that were already available in there. And this was just a fun story we wanted to inform you guys of. If you want to look it up on your own or click the links down below, I highly recommend it. It's worth a good chuckle. Another fun fact that we wanted to throw out there right now. Again, last week we did report a little bit on Apex Legends Season 8 coming out. We got to show the trailer in last week's YouTube video, and that was a lot of fun. But the main news that we want to report about this week is that now, officially, Apex has been announced that it will come to Nintendo Switch on March 9th. I am so excited because now I get to play Apex in bed. And this opens up the opportunity for me to play Apex with all of my friends that come and hang out with us during stream that haven't been able to play Apex with us until now because they had Switch. So I'm super pumped to play more games and more shooters with more friends. Cross-platform is the way of the future. If games aren't understanding that at this point, that gamers want to play with other gamers regardless of what consoles they're on, this is something that needs to turn the corner in the next coming years. Cross-platform for the win, babies. Projekt Winter, also in that same vein of becoming available to more gamers and available cross-platform, has officially announced and launched that it'll be on Xbox Game Pass right now. You can play this game and get it right now if you're an Xbox Game Pass subscriber. If you guys aren't familiar with Projekt Winter, it's a really fun game that we've played on stream a few times before. Projekt Winter is an 8-person multiplayer game focusing on social deception and survival. Communication and teamwork is key to the survivor's ultimate goal of escaping the immediate threat that is in the area. Gather resources, repair structures, and brave the wild terrain all together while all trying to avoid to get murdered. Included with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate today. More news that we've mentioned in the past, Valheim. Y'all remember talking about this one? This one was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We kind of mentioned Valheim. It was a game that we hadn't heard a whole lot about. It had kind of been making its noise down there on the radar, but we hadn't heard a whole lot of it, so we decided we'd report on it. It seemed like a super interesting game with a really, really good idea. Well, now that game is officially in early release and proving to be a lot more popular than we actually anticipated. This title provides a brutal co-op experience rife with exploration and a desperate need to survive. It's an open-world survival game that has only just been released into early access, but it's already dominating Steam's top 10 best-selling games list. As the player count continues to rise, within the first week of being available for early access, Valheim has already clocked 1 million copies out. At the time of reporting the news, Valheim is currently trending at #1 on the top bestsellers list with Steam. So if you guys are interested in trying out a new game, early access is right now. Sign up for it. we have our good friend Kankosaurus Rex has been playing this game and actually has been streaming this game. So if you guys want to check out his side of it and how he's enjoying it, he's really seems to be enjoying it. So I hope you guys get to check him out soon. Last but not least, we're going to talk about just a really fun story that Fox brought to me, and I had actually read about roughly a week ago, but I kind of let it slip my mind just because it was a cute little story that I read and I didn't think about putting it in the news. Well, Fox heard about it too, and she felt it was fun to report on, especially a hell of a way to end the news, guys. If you're familiar with a little game called Super Mario Brothers, I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s, so Super Mario will always just be pinnacle of nostalgia for me. Recently, actually last April 2020, there was a huge data mining information leak from Nintendo. In the gaming and social gaming community, it's been known and referred to as the Nintendo Giga Leak. Well, from that leak, a lot of enthusiasts were able to track down a lot of old file types and a lot of old samples and things like that to kind of recreate levels or find characters that were never used. Well, one particular enthusiast, known on YouTube as the Brickster, found a lot of the original music sounds and original instrument files and samples and utilized them to recreate the soundtrack to a lot of old Nintendo titles. Basically, what he was trying to do was understand the original composer's ideas and see if he maybe could make them sound a little bit bigger and a little bit broader and a little bit more fantastic with not being restricted by RAM. He utilized all these original sounds and instrument files and really went to town. A lot of different games that he has redone, not only Super Mario Brothers, but also Super Mario 64, Yoshi's Island, songs from Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and Mario All-Stars, as well as a bunch of others. This is specifically one that I want to make sure that we include the link down below to this guy's YouTube channel, because these are phenomenal pieces of artwork, phenomenal pieces of music, and just sound so rich to me. I really wanted to try to report this from a non-biased perspective, because there have been some mixed reviews on whether or not this was necessary or even good. Again, my personal opinion is it really adds a robust feel and sound to these just nostalgic musical pieces that I think everybody's going to really enjoy. So I hope you guys click on that link down below and enjoy them just as much as I did. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's the conclusion. That is Thumb on the Pulse. I hope every last one of you have picked up a little bit of information from the news that we reported today, because that's the whole point, right? You guys may already know some of the stuff that's in here. You guys may not know any of the stuff, but as long as I'm helping you learn just a little bit of news, that's all I want to do, is spread information to people that you may not have gotten otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Thumb Spasm. This has been Thumb on the Pulse. I hope you guys come back next time so we can keep our thumb on the pulse together. And I love you beautiful beings so very much. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye. And more shooters. And more shooter. I can't say that word. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I got my thumb other places too, but that's disgusting and we won't talk about it. This is why we do the news, so I can tell you guys the stuff. When Nintendo, that was going to be really bad.